Namaskar. You are watching Global Governance News Team.
कागनों में ही अभी तक पानी पहुंच गया होगा.
Today we are going to discuss Congress. As our Prime Minister Narendra Modi already spoke in the Rajya Sabha, upper house of parliament in Bharat, about Congress. What if Congress never existed? What would happen had the Congress not existed? So, so special theory created by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the Congress. He just point to point, he cornered Congress like anything. And if you see the just speech, and he was replying the motion of thanks by President Ramnath Kovindji. In his speech, he addressed issues emanating from every section of Indian political spectrum. Moreover, he also raised some questions to be addressed by the nation. One of them, the Bharat probable polity in wake of Congress not existing in it. In his speech, Prime Minister Narendra Modi cited Mahatma Gandhi's wish to dismantle Congress. He suggested that Gandhi, being an insider, had a fair bit of idea about the ruckus Congress could cause. Prime Minister also suggested some possibilities in the wake of Congress not being there. So, just to use listen the speech. There's some clips of Prime Minister's speech in the upper house. After that, point by point, we'll discuss.
मैं सोच रहा हूं कि कांग्रेस ना होती तो क्या होता, क्योंकि महात्मा गांधी की इच्छा थी. क्योंकि महात्मा गांधी को मालूम था कि इनके रहने से क्या क्या होने वाला है, और इन्होंने कहा था पहले से इसको खत्म करो, इसको बिखेर दो. महात्मा गांधी ने कहा था. लेकिन अगर ना होती महात्मा गांधी की इच्छा के अनुसार, अगर हुआ होता, अगर महात्मा गांधी की इच्छा के अनुसार कांग्रेस ना होती तो क्या होता? लोकतंत्र परिवारवाद से मुक्त होता. भारत विदेशी चश्मे के बजाय स्वदेशी संकल्पों के रास्ते पर चलता. अगर कांग्रेस न होती तो इमरजेंसी का कलंक न होता. अगर कांग्रेस न होती तो दशकों तक करप्शन को संस्थागत बनाकर नहीं रखा जाता. अगर कांग्रेस न होती तो जातिवाद और क्षेत्रवाद की खाई इतनी गहरी न होती. अगर कांग्रेस न होती तो सिखों का नरसंहार न होता. सिखों का नरसंहार न होता. सालों साल पंजाब आतंकी आग में न जलता. अगर कांग्रेस न होती तो कश्मीर के पंडितों को कश्मीर छोड़ने की नौबत न आती. अगर कांग्रेस न होती तो बेटियों को तंदूर में जलाने.
Just you watch the clips, how Prime Minister Narendra Modi reacted, and just we can say the word. Just trying to find out how just he reacted about the Congress and existence of Congress. So whatever raised the issue about the dynasty, the foreign ruler, emergency, 1975, due to emergency and the style of functioning of then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, we have just the curse for Indian democracy and Bharat democracy. Emergency and the secularism. The secular word was just placed in the after 1976 on our Indian constitution. about the secularism. That was a great political turn of Bharat due to misgovernance of Indira Gandhi and how the corruption is institutionalized, casteism, regionalism, and how just a Sikh massacre 1984, Punjab terrorism, how Bhindranwale created by Indira Gandhi that time. After that, how country faced and came out from that. In 1990, Kashmiri Hindu Pandits, more than 5 lakhs vacated from own land. And that time the government was only keeping mum, no any reaction. And how the one of leader is now living in the life in imprisonment, Sushil Sharma, one of the Congress leader, was cut it in pieces and roasted in the hotels. That hotel is now name changed now, all the five-star hotel in Delhi. And how the main primary things, the bijli, just the electricity, water, and road was not properly made. Earlier, Prime Minister said, हम समस्याओं को ना टालते हैं ना पालते हैं. Now, we are expecting, I'll just take, we have Bandana Jinganji from senior journalist from Chicago and Alok Laharji, a senior journalist and analyst from Spain. So we expect now our Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the, he should not, we should not wait for the population control bill and common civil code and later on. We expect. Vandanaji, how just you think and analyze the situation about the Congress existing, could be or not to be?
Namaskar, Alok ji and Kumar Rakesh ji, and to our viewers. Uh, Actually, just imagine this was in reply to the presidential address, our Honorable Prime Minister has given. And few days before, there was an address by the so-called Rahul Gandhi of the same party that we are naming about. Bulleted points. Prime Minister spoke about the bulleted points. I am going to go a little further because we are seeing the regional parties popping up is also the contribution of this particular party, Congress. Let this be Sharad Pawar's party, let this be Mamta Banerjee's party. So more and more, who's doing the polarization? Now the daughter of the family, so-called Priyanka, she goes, "Ladki hu, lad sakti hu." Lad to nahi rahi. I think she made a mistake in creating this slogan. She should have said, "Ladki hu, ladwa sakti hu." So, because that is what they are doing it now. If you just see that, they are jumping onto the issues as per their convenience, but not. If you are a leader, I always say leadership does demand you to take a stand, but it does not mean that you take a stand as per your convenience. We just discussed about Malala 2 days ago, that how she came out so jumping about this burning issue, which is the hijab issue, and so is the Priyanka Gandhi. Look who's talking. This is so very shameful. I mean, एज जो जन्म लेता है वो मरता है, तो शायद अभी इनका समय आ चुका है. दे हैव टू बी, बिकॉज ही जस्ट सेड they don't want to rule for 100+ years, because claiming them we are 135+ years. I feel so sorry for the people, those who carry this last name Gandhi, how they must be feeling about it, because this is not even their last name and they are using it somebody else's last name for that. And imagine. So people have to realize that, because as we're talking about, Bharat is going for poll in the 5 states. One phase is already over yesterday. So you have to pick, the party, those who the people, those who are without the means, like, there should not be any dynasty. Had this been dynasty, then why did we go for a democracy? Why India claims itself to be the largest democracy of the world? When we talk about it, Bharat, India, the first thing you write is the largest democracy of the world. So, but here we are seeing the Parivarvad, they are not even able to come out of this. This is a height to it. It is a high time that people have to realize. I sometimes feel the senior most leaders, like, Sibbal and gang, what do they feel? I mean, it is a shame to see that you are like, you don't even have balls to stand and say no for it. Like, no, this is not, because you cannot have any other party leader. I mean, like, president of the party, it has to be only come from that party. This itself shows like something is definitely to be probed about this. Thank you so very much. Over to Rakesh ji.
Thank you, Vandana ji. How just the Congress is doing, and Alok ji, just whatever issues raised by the Prime Minister, do you think, if Nehru, on behest of Gandhiji, dismantled the Congress, then Nehru, not to be Prime Minister, will not maybe the Prime Minister of the country. Sardar Patel may be the country. One. Subhash Bose will be in different format and different form. He may alive. And if Sardar Patel, maybe the Prime Minister, no division that time of the country, when Pakistan and Bangladesh were not existed. Or what I think, what should not be happen? How do you analyze? Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Good evening, Kumar Rakesh ji and Vandana ji and our viewers. Agar Congress na hoti, had there been no Congress. So that's the topic. Now, it's a very interesting topic. It's the only difference is that the Prime Minister has said it on, in Rajya Sabha. But lots of intellectuals have been questioning this throughout. But since the media is, we know who owns the media in India. So this has not come out in the open because, like Vannaji said, almost nobody, no senior leader or senior journalist have the guts to question this. Had there been no Congress? Now, had there been no Congress, first of all, the formation of the Congress by Mr. Holmes is not because he wanted, the enlightened to come and fight for the freedom of India. It was nothing like this. It was like Chelmsford Club. You gathered and you had coffee and you had fun. And the only difference is that Gokhale was there. And then when Gokhale was getting old and Mahatma Gandhi comes from South Africa, then obviously, like, Gokhale tells Mahatma Gandhi that now I can die in peace, because he understood that in spite of the fact that we have this club here, where we have fun, all the rich and the famous of India, they were having fun there, then who would give it the right direction? So there is no doubt, in spite of the fact that I consider that 1857 is when our freedom struggle starts off. But there is no doubt that the Congress had a very prominent role in the freedom struggle. So there is no doubt about this. But what happens is later on, once they are getting close to the power and they can see after the Second World War, and the Prime Minister also mentioned that the world order changed after the Second World War. When they're getting close to the power, they understand that, this could become a reality if India does not get freedom, it at least gets a Dominion status. So there would be somebody who would be serving the British. Now, that was the basic idea. So the basic plan which Jawaharlal Nehru, presents, that is the base of the Constitution. So there itself, he had started to work to get into power, in spite of the fact that he was not elected as the president of the Congress. Subhash Bose was. And even afterwards, when Subhash Bose is forced out of Congress by Gandhiji and Nehru, even then, when the prime ministerial candidate has to be selected, Sardar Patel comes up, and then Gandhiji calls him and forces him to withdraw his nomination in favor of Nehru. So this struggle for power, like I have to grab this power, this was very much there. That has not gone away. It has been very unfortunate. Like once they could see that Nehru wanted to become the first prime minister, and that's the reason the division of India and Pakistan takes place. And his quest for power is so, his thirst for power is so, how do I put it, so powerful that even after this happens, at times there are people who have been thinking like, who got Gandhi killed? Like if you go by this, argument, just understand that the murder of Mahatma Gandhi, the beneficiary of it, if you analyze this, you can very well understand who was the maximum beneficiary for it. So it is quite possible that Gandhiji had this idea that he will split the Congress into two. On one side, probably we will have Nehru and the socialist part of it. And Subhash Bose was also, he had his socialist inclinations in spite of the fact that he's painted as if he was a right-wing guy and friendly with Hitler and all that. But I think he was just following the Chanakya's polity into it. Even Patel is shown as if he was a right-wing guy, but had this not been there, so Bhagat Singh would have lived, and probably lots of these freedom fighters, they would have not gone to the prison. But I don't know, lots of things could have happened. And then the compromise does not stop here. The compromise goes on because then you ask for favors. For example, assassination of Shastriji. Then after that, once you want majority in the parliament, then you take the help of the leftists. So then you sell your education to the leftists. So all these compromises which are there, and the only reason all these compromises are being made by Indian National Congress is because from Congress as the political movement, as the main arm of political struggle and freedom struggle, it turns into a private limited company which uses the brand name of Gandhiji, which is not their own, but they acquire this brand name as if, you can buy a brand name and say, okay, now we are going to use this as our brand name because it is going to sell and this is going to get us more. And that's the reason whatever which, thing which the Prime Minister is saying, it is correct. The only reason why they are there is because they want to grab power. They are not working for the nation. But on top of it, what they're doing is, they are blaming BJP. BJP, jo jumma kal paida hui hai, it is only after 77 that Janata Party comes and out of which BJP comes. So it is a very new party, and we couldn't have, dividing the people in the name of caste, in the name of creed, in the name of, Dalits and non-Dalits or North-South divide. All this has been created by Congress basically to grab power. There is no other reason. And the only, thing they want to do is grab power and play with the public money, fill up their pockets, their bank accounts. But there is no development, so to say. They might be, then they'll come up with, no, we were already sending, our satellites, we were doing this. Now, this in a democratic process, this is minimum, which any country which has lived for 70 years. Just think what happened to Japan, what happened to Germany in Second World War. Where are they sitting today? Even a country like Vietnam, where is it standing today? So this claim that, all this was done. So when Prime Minister says that now there is tap water coming, or there is electricity, or there is toilet, it means in all these 60 years, Congress did not work to give the basic amenities.
No, about Alokji, if you see the analyze 1947 to 2022, if you analyze properly how many years Congress ruled, it's about 48-49 years. If you see the 89 to 91, 2 years, and 2 years, and 96 to 98, 4 years. If you minus. And 6 years of 10 years. out of 75, out of 75 years and 3 years less, 73. So we can see the in these periods and before the 60s. So I think about 50, 55 years they ruled. Not 60 years, about 60 years.
Yeah,
We
that's
can
what I
say.
said. Around 60 years of their
Yeah,
rule,
yeah,
they
yeah.
could
They
not
ruled.
give basic amenities to the Indians. And on top of
Why
it,
and
now
what
they're
for?
saying that
We'll
BJP is
discuss.
dividing
We'll
and
discuss
polarizing.
all
You
this
have done
why
it
issue.
all these times in 60 years.
Yeah. So
You
I
know,
just
you have created these pockets like, you know, the Dalits, the Harijans, and Mahatma
I'll add.
Gandhi is also to be blamed in this.
No, Mahatma Gandhi should be blamed, but I'll add one very important thing. How just when 2004 and 2006, how when I asked the question to the Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, about this governance, what he replied after break, we'll share with you and all our viewers. Welcome to a break. We're discussing the what if Congress never existed, and just how Vandana ji just expressed her view, and Alok ji elaborate with the all inputs. So just we're discussing Alok ji. 2000, there are three press conferences of Prime Minister within 10 years by Dr. Manmohan Singh. And last phase, one of the journalists from the NDTV, Pankaj Pachauri, was communication advisor. Before that, Sanjay Baru was there. How Sanjay Baru reacted about the governance, or everybody knows with the books. And now he also critical to Modi government. And before that, Dr. Harish Khare, then senior journalist from Hindu and Tribune, he was also media advisor to the Prime Minister. But when the two press conference I was there, and I asked the question on third, some more regions I could not attend, and then I asked Prime Minister, well, when Rajiv Gandhi has made a statement in 1987, when I give the to states 1 rupees, that is go 15 paise. So how this system will be okay? When the system will be okay, we'll just give the state for 1 rupees, that will be 1 rupees as it is. You'll surprised? No. How Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh uh, answered the question. Okay, you are right, Mr. Kumara case, and I know it, and everybody know it. One, two, third, the long answer. I'm just trying to summarize. So there is a loopholes in the system. We'll trying to correct it, and very soon it will be okay and good. And 1 rupees will go to the 1 rupees like that. Whatever he just try to answer the question, basically he had no answer about the good
No,
governance.
there is no answer, Kumar Rakeshji, because the
But nowadays,
ecosystem which they created
Alokji,
was like that
Alokji,
only.
but nowadays,
The
the
power
last
is there,
7 years
and
of
then there are
governance.
people
But
who are going to
no,
seek this
I'm just
money.
trying to comparatively study, just to see
No, no, the
comparatively.
will has to be. There has to be a will, like,
That's Vandana,
because
you are
that's
right.
what.
Exactly.
See,
So
I
I'll
I
give you
can
one
very well
more input. I'll
imagine.
take the Vandana
No,
ji.
there is
I'm
one
giving
thing
now.
one has to
No,
realize. There
the
is one
Vandana ji, I
thing.
just one point I want to add. One point.
Sure.
Now, in last 7 years of governance, from the first year of governance, when Modi government just sent the 1 rupees, it directly go to the beneficiary 1 rupees. That is a governance, and how the beneficiaries already benefited. That's my inputs. This is a difference of the governance. Vandana ji, do you think the how just the I think absence of the foreign influence, and how you just utilize corruption and dynasty politics, regionalism, casteism, and communalism, I think this government also not so pro to just eliminate it. I wrote in article 1986. Today, if I place the article, only we have not only changed the date. Same situation, same conditions in the country. So how just you analyze the Sikh genocide and institutionalized corruption and dynasty politics? Vandana ji.
See, namaste again. Polarization. When we're talking about polarizing, like, that is, we are seeing it I had a discussion yesterday with somebody. I mean, the unrest that we are seeing it, where we are talking about the democracies, if you see the definition that somebody has given, democracy is for people, those who are educated. And education doesn't mean only the degrees. Those who take pride in, someone I was talking to, she said, oh my God, you're so much concerned about. I said, at least with an attitude of gratitude, I came to this world because of my parents. So I owe to them. I came to this world in the nation named Bharat. I owe to that. I'm living in the nation named America. I owe to that. She says, how do you balance it? I said, it is very easy. You have to make sure that everybody gets their due share, to be honest. So, but that is not happening. We are seeing unrest. Like, the same prime minister, when we're talking about of the neighboring state of country of mine, Justin Trudeau, was his attitude was just a year ago. He was becoming a champion of Masiha, that kind of world. We know I'm going to give him for when things were happening in the nation Bharat. But now he is facing the same music, and now his comments are totally different. Oh, the life of common man should not. What happened to the life of a common man, those who wanted to come to the Sonipat and want to come to Delhi? At that time he didn't see. And now I just want to share, because it has been so miserable over a period of time. People living in Ottawa, all these truckers, what are they trying to do? They trying to do, after every 10 minutes, they were honking at the same time. You can very well imagine the condition of the residents, where if you keep hearing and where the horns are not, we don't even use the horns. Imagine. So apne mein aag lagi. And now means so, but we are mature enough. We didn't tell him anything. Like the India government should say that too, what he said. So polarization is increasing. There has to be, because कुछ तो सख्ती होना चाहिए. आप सोचिए, you just see that that is what I just said in my first segment. We cannot see as per our convenience. We cannot speak out. Your so-called Nobel laureates, your so-called means, like, they come out and to give one statement, Alok ji, they do get paid for it. One tweet, everything. So, but are we seeing it? Like, what is the impact? Greta was so much concerned about that farmers thing, and she's talking about it, and just within 1 week,
I think even see, there's no doubt about the meaning of the Greta and the spelling of Greta, but
Yeah.
now how that's created just a havoc, just like the so big leader of the world.
But we are seeing it, what's happening in the educational institutes. You send your kids to go and study. So on that very basis, when we're talking about uniform civil code, it is definitely very well needed. It is the need of today's time. We are already late. And because what is happening, appeasements and appeasements and appeasements, nothing beyond that. Why there is, somebody has to work so very, it should be, my work should speak for myself. If I, being an elected official, how much, Alokji, I did for my constituents, that should be the criteria of the measurement. Do they want to see me? Coming back to the dynasty that we're talking about, yes, I am still seeing it, but with a percentage. If someone is coming on their own merits, means there can be people like, Marwadi ka beta, it's a business. They do it and the son takes it over and stuff like that. But this is being serving the public. For it's not that you have generated something, because there are two different things. Industrialist, they pass, we just take two big names. So their kids will be managing the business, they will be managing directors and all. So ye to koi aisa dukandari to nahi hai. Alok ji did said they have made this as a corporation. So it's not a corporation.
I think so. So, Vandana, the corporation and the private limited. The corporation is different word, private limited different word. How just behaving the Congress party leader, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra and Rahul Gandhi, just behaving like this, they are the owner of the private limited company. not like the party.
Mhm.
Nobody is speaking now.
Like we have seen it when we talk about Tata's group, the CEOs and all, they are not from that family.
Yeah. And how the I know so many. One of my bureaucrats here just already created the cow, the Goshala, and he just donated the all land and all property to the for Gosala, and who make the trustee. Okay, just run it. Well, what after my death, this will continue. That's main thing. Alokji, if you see the compromise with the national sovereignty and weekend strategic control and the Kashmiri Pandit exodus and the Tandoor incident, PM Modi also referred to the fact that Kashmiri Pandits were thrown out from their own homes in the valley, and Congress did nothing to protect their lives, dignity, and properties. He also mentioned an incident which the woman was burned in tandoor, and as I told you, the one of the Congress leader, Sushil Sharma, I think I remember the name Naina Sahani, the lady, a very active Congress leader, and there's and a student NSY also and all. So he has life imprisonment. So how just a culture of Congress with the Kashmiri Pandit, what were they claim, Kaul and Nehru? How I think claim on blame for the family, and how the compromise with national sovereignty and the weekend strategy control. How do you like it?
I mean, Kumara Geji, why Kashmiri Pandits? We should start after the assassination of Gandhiji. What
Yeah,
happened to the Maharashtrian Brahmins? Was there not a massacre of the Maharashtrian Brahmins in Pune and in Maharashtra, and even brothers of Nathuram Godse, they were pulled onto the streets and things like this. But this does not happen in a democracy at all. Then we talk about certain other things. Like anybody who criticized the royal family, they have ended up in jail. There is, I don't know if many of our viewers know Majru Sultanpuri, who was
yeah,
actually like he had written he used to write songs like Inamina Dika and all that stuff, but that was not his real poetry. His real poetry
a
was
very very famous poet actually. He
exactly.
was he was just put in the prison after just
Yeah, and he
criticizing
was
the
put behind bars for 2 years just
yeah,
because he wrote against Pandit Nehru. So today we are talking about emergency came later on.
yeah,
Balraj Sani was one of those CPI,
yeah,
members who was
yeah,
also put behind bars. And the same CPI, then they become friendly with the Congress party. Why? Because they're sharing the same interest. And what is the same
you're right.
interest? Congress gets into this process of creating, an ecosystem in which everybody is getting a cut. So because everybody is getting a cut, so that 1 rupee which is actually going to go to the poor or the farmer, only 15 pesos are going to reach there, because from top to bottom this ecosystem has been put in place. And the first thing, in the first 5 years when Modi ji comes in, he has to fight this ecosystem, because which was so much in place. I mean, even today, how the news is controlled, and they are paid to get to write, and they are also paid to not let certain news come into the mainstream media. That's the reason Modi ji has shifted onto the social media, and thank God that is social media, that certain other views are also there. So this is the whole ecosystem which is created all around. And even today, when they are sitting in the opposition, do you think they are working to gain the, let's say, the sympathy of the people, working hard to serve the people? They are not. They are trying to create one problem or another problem. They are not giving any solutions. They create problems. So when you're talking about Kashmir and the Pandits being killed, it is because they supported a group just to remain in power. They supported
Yeah,
this group, and wherever they have gone, just to remain in power, they are ready to compromise anything and everything, even the national security. That's the reason you go and have dinners with the Chinese, and then you come up and there was a time when it seemed that most of the senior leaders of the Congress were salespersons of Pfizer. Why? because obviously they must have got, if we pressurize this, if this vaccine comes to India, then they'll be able to get some kickback out of this. And we know Rajiv Gandhi, why he lost the elections, because the Bofors case was there. So everywhere where they could make money, they were doing it, and they want to do it again. But the only thing is that now what has happened because of this is we don't have two national parties. We have regional parties which are outbreaks of the Congress. So had Congress not been there, or had, two-party system existed like it does in the United States of America, or the Congress would have been dissolved by Mahatma Gandhi, then things would have been very different. Probably instead of two, we would have 3 or 4 different political parties. But at national level,
India can't be. India was just like a stronger and Bisguru. There is then after that no existence of Pakistan, no Bangladesh, and how India was big.
I think we have to again question this. Like UK had more than 50 colonies, and India is the only colony which got divided into 3 countries. Why did it happen, and why it did not happen with any other country? So you have to question that, and that also falls into, into Congress. Congress was the main negotiator, so you made a mess out of it. And the corruption is not new. The corruption is not new. Even, Jawaharlal Nehru had once, this is this famous quote from him when he says, कोई बात नहीं, अगर होता है तो कोई बात नहीं, देश का पैसा है, देश में रहता है. So if you are allowing from the top
case and the Treasury case, there's so many scandal also that time before the 64. So Vandanaji, the last question: how just you think Congress and British the mentality of the Congress and British are same, and only just to garner the much power? So naturally, one side they're preaching non-violence, other side they are promoting the violence. And just one time talking the morality, another way going to the false morality. How just you analyze? Just very right. We have only 2 minutes.
Absolutely. You talked about non-violence. The biggest joke happened on 30th of January when Mahatma Gandhi was killed in New Delhi. And what happened, Alokji did mention. And that was not matter of days, it was matter of hours. It's the same party people, Ahimsa ke pujari ke Bhagat. What did they do? There is no record available, because at that time media was also dictated by the so-called grandfather of this Rahul Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru. Then what happened? 1984. And then when we're talking about पेड़ हिलता है तो पत्ते तो झटकते रहते हैं, this should be the statement. I mean, this is a shame when you're talking about it. And people should realize it. As he mentioned, in today's time, social media. So no matter, they have failed on every account, because what has been happening now, I can very well understand. And we accept that technology is playing and making it life very easy. But what did they do at that very time? We do know that head of the Khalistan, Bindranwala, whom they call as their guru, who was treated like a very warm welcome in New Delhi. We were very little kids at that very time when he came. And who was the prime minister at that time? Madam Indira Gandhi. She was, rule to karna hai, like आराम से, नहीं तो तुमको मार के, नहीं तो तुमको divide करके, as we all know that it's a division that they have created. Yeah. So anarchy, and that is what the great kids are also doing of that grandmother. That is the tribute they paid to their dadi. That that's
so nice, both of you.
I just want to add one line.
Please,
and that is, now they have the cheek to come and tell that BJP is dividing, polarizing. This is not correct at all. BJP, what it has done is it has united the Hindus under one umbrella. And when he's talking, when Modi ji is talking about sabka saath, sabka vikas, this is the same thing as Gandhi ji said. So he's doing the same thing. It is not when the houses are given and how many lakhs of people have been given houses, but there is no discrimination. But they are saying no, BJP is
Yeah,
polarizing.
yeah,
BJP is
yeah.
not polarizing. BJP is uniting. BJP is giving what is due to each one of the person. There is no north-south divide. There is no. They don't
Yes,
want to
yeah.
divide anything. They are the ones who pepper people, pay money to people, and then say, okay, now you start CAA, or you start the Delhi riots, or you start now this hijab controversy in Karnataka. So actually, it is the Congress which is doing all this, but they are blaming it on BJP. Why they are doing it? The only reason is by hook or by crook they want to get back to power, and then again distribute among themselves the public money.
Okay.
खिसियानी बिल्ली खंबा नोचे.
Hey, that's so many proverbs are there, and for the uh, I remember the so many slogans of that time. So actually, just how we discussed the uh, existence of Congress, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi as a BJP leader already announced many times that is a must, most important thing in country. Countries, Bharat should be free from Congress, and I think Congress has taken seriously his suggestion. They are trying themselves just to wipe out from themselves how they have divided many houses, and I think we hope for the vibrant democracy when a strong opposition should be there. But sorry to say, they are not united. They are all full of lust. They are not for the country. They're not for the nation. They're only for their family and dynasty. So now country is in a different way. We can not go in that way, and going to be strong day by day will be stronger very soon. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.